So basically, as you heard it, I'm going to be color commentating for Quintet 3. It's going to be this Friday at the Orleans. And it's pretty exciting grappling style matchups, and just the way it's laid out, I find it really interesting because it's like sort of a relay, if you think of like a relay and grappling meeting each other. And it's also sort of marries the idea of open weight classes, because you don't know who you're going to be grappling. If you submit the first matchup, you're on to the second person of the team. So potentially the first person on each team, there's teams of 5, can eliminate the entire other team, and no one else on their team would even get to go. Hypothetically speaking, it could happen.
How did this come together? Was this something were you looking to do, add something? You're already so busy as it is. Were you looking to do more work like this?
I'm always looking to add. I'm never busy enough, I feel like, grappling, as you guys know, throughout my fight career, is just something that I've always been passionate about. And now that, I've had a baby and all that good stuff, that's where I keep myself busy. I keep myself preoccupied on the mats with jiu-jitsu. So it's a passion of mine. And I've always loved breaking down live action, whether it be fighting or wrestling or grappling. So it just made sense.
It's interesting because there's a couple of different grappling organizations right now. So it's like this kind of surgence of grappling. What do you think it is about this organization? The unique format. Do you prefer this one over the others, or how do you think people attach to this one?
Well, I think it kind of follows a storyline in the sense that people can watch or hope for matchups. You get emotionally invested in the sense, like, for instance, as much as I love Sakuraba and I think the man is an absolute legend, there's a part of me that really wants to see Uriah submit Sakuraba so I can watch Uriah Faber grapple Josh Barnett, because Josh Barnett is second in line, and there's a 100-pound weight discrepancy, but where are you going to see that anywhere else? That's really neat. Where would you ever see Uriah Faber and Josh Barnett going against each other? I just think it's very fascinating, so I like that whole relay style idea.
Are you limiting yourself to the broadcast booth, or do you see yourself getting on a team at some point?
There's no limitations, really. I definitely would like to pursue more of a grappling aspect. I want to stay competitive in some format, and I think grappling is really what fits the bill so far. So I do see myself doing some sort of grappling competition in the future.
How does it feel being kind of like a woman out there and trying to put them more on the map when it comes to being a commentator and radio? You're also hosting a show. So how does it feel to kind of you're one of the first pioneers of the sport and then to carry it on into broadcasting?
Well, I would say it feels really good. Again, I never looked at myself different being a woman in the sport, and I don't look at myself different as being a woman on the broadcasting or analyst side of things. I have knowledge that I can offer, and I love the fact that I can get out there and inform the audience of what's going on. And jiu-jitsu and grappling is my specialty, so I'm very confident being able to inform everybody of exactly what's going on, and I have no nerves with that kind of stuff. So. It's fun for me. I think why not add it to the resume?
Speaking of grappling, a big matchup this weekend with UFC 229. How do you analyze Khabib's grappling going into that fight, and what's your sort of prediction on how this one plays out?
Well, Khabib's grappling and wrestling is very, very good, particularly his wrestling. I wouldn't say that he stands out to me as a submission artist per se, but I think he has a way of wearing people down, getting a hold of you, and he just throws people around, and it's incredible because some of the guys that he gets a hold of and makes it look easy, that it's not easy, because that the competition that he's fighting is very legitimate. So he's undefeated in his career. He has yet to lose a round, and I think it favors him in this fight, to be honest. However, Conor McGregor's not one to be counted out. You never can count him out, and I think he's going to be faster, and I think he has a huge advantage on the feet. And his fight IQ is, some of the best that I've ever seen. The way that he adjusts mid-fight if he needs to, and the game plan that he comes with, he's really a next-level athlete. So the fight does start on the feet, and there is definitely a good chance that he knows how to get in there, and he's studied the striking, and he'll find that one opportunity. So it's going to be a good fight either way. I either see probably Conor finishing it or possibly Khabib getting a decision.
Has the door completely closed on you returning to the UFC?
You know, it's one of those things I just haven't really thought about, to be honest. I have been so happy just being a mom. I'm very fulfilled in that, and I know that the door is always open if that calling does come back to me. So I'm just kind of letting it be. Speak of the devil. Let's look at those mom ears. She's all that I'm focused on at the moment, and everything else that I can fit into my schedule, like being a color commentator for Quintet and grappling and things like that. I really feel like that suffices. And the other thing too is, if you think about it, I've done it all. I started from the very, very bottom, getting paid nothing, getting paid pennies on the dollar, to headlining one of the biggest fights to ever exist, in the UFC. So I've been a world champion for the UFC. I've been a Strikeforce world champion. I've really captured a lot inside, my relatively short career, which was roughly 11 or 12 years. I mean, that's a long career anyway, so I don't think I'm missing anything, really.
When you watch fights, are you thinking of them kind of with the mindset of a fighter still, like, well, what would I do if I'm in there, or do you think more like an analyst now?
I still think of it like a fighter, to be honest. If I'm just sitting at home and I'm watching the fights, it's like, oh man, you should have done this, you should have done that, or I would be doing this, or I could beat that person, like you still think about it that way. I think that's first and foremost, an analyst is second nature to me, thinking like a fighter's first nature.
But they go hand in hand, right? I mean, in order to be an analyst, you have to have that experience.
I think it helps. It definitely helps to have been in there and done it, to be able to break it down and know exactly what should be happening, and to appreciate the art as it unfolds. So, like, if you've been in there, it helps to have that experience to also be able to translate and break it down to people who are just watching it.
How do you see the Cyborg Nunes fight going?
I naturally would pick Cyborg. I don't think there's a woman on this planet that I would pick to beat Cyborg as of right now, and probably not a lot of men either. So with that being said, I'm definitely picking Cyborg, but I do think that Amanda poses some problems that Cyborg hasn't seen yet. And the biggest one is the power that Amanda possesses. I know she's a smaller athlete, but I believe she'll be faster, and I believe that she possesses the power to hurt Cyborg, which is something that I don't think Cyborg has really had to encounter. I think most of the females that Cyborg's ever fought, I don't think they measure up to Amanda's striking power. So with that being said, I don't think she's going to want to come in there with a careless game plan. I don't think she can just walk in there and expect to bully Amanda around, because I think Amanda is better than that. And with that being said, I think that Cyborg is going to win, but I think it might be a tougher fight than anybody's anticipating.
Is it the best women's fight in UFC history, do you think?
That's hard to say. I feel like there's a lot of history. There's even in the short amount of time, there's a lot of history that's happened. I think that Rose's fight with Joanna Jędrzejczyk was an amazing fight. Obviously, this is the first time that two champions have fought each other, so it is a very important fight. But I don't know if it's the biggest fight in UFC history. I suppose it depends how the fight unfolds. To be honest, I think that really has a lot to do with it. I think if it's a great fight and it unfolds, I think it goes down in history as definitely one of the greatest fights to ever have happened for women's mixed martial arts.
Well, we're talking about big fights in women's mixed martial arts. But Shevchenko versus Eubanks recently just got, not officially announced, but it looks like that's going to be the main event for UFC 230. A lot of people expect it maybe Nate Diaz at first Poirier, maybe for the 165-pound title. What do you think about that decision?
I had a feeling that it wasn't going to be Diaz and Poirier for the simple fact that they went out and tried to make it happen, unofficially on their own. And I think that it sets a precedence, that the UFC has what they have in mind. So I love the fact that women's MMA is getting represented and is being put on the map. And, Shevchenko is one of the biggest stars that has yet to be a champion. Yeah, and I think in everybody else's book, it's like she's the uncrowned champion. It's just a matter of time until she becomes a champion. So I think, this is going to be a good fight.
Were you surprised they didn't go with Joanna Jędrzejczyk instead against Shevchenko?
Absolutely. I think that it probably should have been Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Valentina Shevchenko. That's the fight that I would have liked to see. But hopefully we'll see that in the future. I don't know what the holdup is, but I'm sure there's a good reason.
we're going into a Conor McGregor fight week now. And you were in the co-main event of McGregor fight week a couple years ago. Is that experience different as an undercard fighter than other fight cards that you've been on? Just the whole kind of atmosphere
being
in a McGregor on a McGregor card, you know, with all the Irish fans and all the the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I was on one McGregor card and one I was supposed to be on, but then that fight didn't happen with McGregor. So, no, two cards. Yeah, right. It's always way more crazy with the fans. Like, it's one of the few times that I remember hearing the audience like really chanting. Like, they're just very passionate. So to be on a McGregor card it's next level. Like, the fans are hyped and everybody's super, super invested. So to anybody who hasn't been on a McGregor card yet, just be ready, because the charge in the room is pretty incredible.
Is it a positive or in some ways a negative, do you think?
I think it's a positive. It depends if you feed off that kind of energy or not. Everyone's different, but for me, I really enjoyed hearing that the audience was passionate about my fight, that they're invested. You know, I remember when I was fighting Holly, you know, that they would start chanting Holly's name, and then they would rebuttal and start chanting my name, and I heard it, and it's just like you get that energy, and you know that a lot of those people out there are obviously cheering for you, so you wanna like settle the audience dispute and, you know, get that win.
Miesha, with you doing your own, you know, some radio shows and some commentating, you're kind of a part of the media now, and I just wonder if you have any opinions of when you were a fighter about the media that have changed now that you've become one of us, kind of.
Yeah, actually, it's really interesting. So I work with Ryan McKinnell every Wednesday on SiriusXM, so we host a show together, and it's really fascinating sometimes how he breaks down something versus how I break down something, how he thinks about something from the media side. So now I've really started to come full circle and start to understand what it is to be on your guys' side of it, you know, behind the camera, the one asking the questions, those kinds of things. And I feel like one of the things that I find the most interesting is that it depends how you listen to someone when they interview, you know, like how you get your next question. Like, I always appreciate it when I feel like someone's engaging with me in conversation as opposed to just asking like the next question. And I think that separates good analysts. So I always try to remember that when I'm doing an interview on SiriusXM, that I don't want to just ask a question that I bulleted out. Like, I want to really try to like be engaged and be in there and be in that conversation. It's just not something that I thought about on the other side before. Yeah. Anybody else?
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Thank you.